AM 590, KXSP Omaha's ESPN Radio. It's time for the Metro's only racing talk show. The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Buddy Ray.
Well, good morning, race fans, and welcome to the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. As always, that is Karting with a K. Get to Joe's today. Amazing racing for just $13. Get to Joe's, the place you need to get during these cold winter months, although recently we've had some pretty warm weather, so get down to Joe's today, do some racing, and find out what these dirt drivers already know. On the phone with us today to help start promoting our local dirt track racing updates in the off-season is Greg Golden of Raceway Park. Greg, appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
You bet. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Let's start off. You guys have been very busy in the off-season, so let's start off and talk about your 2014 champions and kind of recap that a little bit. You ran IMCA Modifieds, stock cars, sport mods, hobby stocks, and sport compacts. Chris Abelson able to get the championship in 2014 over there at Raceway Park.
Yes, Chris had a really good year this year, and just things went real well for him. And like he said, I've heard him do a lot of interviews. The luck was on his side, just getting through accidents, different things. And that had a real good year. Chris was leading the national points there right to the end, and some bonus points and stuff kind of knocked him out of that. But, he had a real good year for sure.
What about Jason Ward down in the stock cars in your Casey's General Store IMCA stock cars? How did Jason fare throughout the year?
Jason had a good year. He was consistent this year. Now, normally we see Jason just knocking off win after win after win. And the other guys have stepped up their programs this year. And he didn't get as many wins, but he was very consistent and held on and went on to win the points again. But I'm looking forward to 2015 because, like I said, a lot of big stock cars. We had a lot of stock cars kind of increased in the car count. They near doubled since about 3 years ago.
Wow.
And a lot of good competition, so it's going to be interesting 2015.
What about your Skyline Bar and Casino IMCA Sport Mods? Todd Boulware taking home the win there, or the championship, rather.
Todd always runs real strong week after week at Raceway Park, and he raced at Park Jefferson Open back up this year, and he was real strong over there also. Todd does real good, and Todd keeps up with his equipment and has a good maintenance program, and I've raced against Todd in the past, and Todd just does a really nice job. Stays out of trouble when you need to stay out of trouble, and just real consistent. Does a real good job.
Andy Hoffman was your next champion with the Mopar IMCA Hobby Stocks. Was Andy able to find victory lane several times, or was he another one of those consistent drivers?
Andy found victory lane quite a few times and just had a really good year. It was one of the first times I really seen Andy kind of started off the year, and this was his goal. And he went for it, and he just stayed after it week after week. And, he knocked off quite a few wins and had a really good year. He's got a good year to be proud of this year.
Wrapping it up in probably one of the funner divisions, even though they go a lot slower than everyone else, the KISS 1071 IMCA Sport Compacts. Ramsey Meyer taking home the championship.
Ramsey was the first time that he's raced with us consistent the full entire year going after the points, and he's really fun to watch. He real good driver, real fast cars. He can. I know he got claimed over at Eagle this year and had to put a car together basically overnight. And they called and said, "Well, we're coming. We're going to run a few minutes late." And he came in that night with a brand new car and went on to win that feature night also. So he had a good year this year. Real good year. I was glad he raced with Raceway Park.
I'm reading, I remember hearing several times, sorry guys, not able to race tonight. It was a tough year for you guys at Raceway Park. Is it right you guys had 9 rainouts?
We had 9 rainouts. I don't know. You had to bring it up. I don't like to think about it, but no, it was just one of them years. We started out the year, and we actually, the spring, we had a couple nights we canceled because of snow. And I grew up at this speedway. I'm 49 years old. I've been going out there since I was the track opened up in 1970. We're actually going to be going on our 45th year in 2015.
Wow.
And I don't ever recall getting snowed out. And my dad and other people I know, older people, we can't ever recall that. So, we were snowed out in the spring. Then we got rolling pretty good. And then, we got into June. I remember one weekend we canceled out, and I think we got like 14 inches of rain that weekend.
Oh, man.
And so we're out there pumping the water out of the ditches, and we just got everything pumped out because our track infield all drains out to a drainage ditch, and it was overfull, and it was all backing up. So we pumped it all out, and we're all proud, and everything's looking good. And somebody shows up and says, "You kind of waste your time." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, there's a flood coming, and here something happened up north, and the water was coming down, and it flooded the part of the cornfields out in Jefferson. They got up across the street, if you're familiar with Raceway Park Garrison Speedway, and it got real close to the speedway there. I think something broke up north and kind of let it spread out more into the cornfields. But it was definitely a wet year this year, and we did lose nine events. That's a lot of events to lose. So.
Well, and that's, I keep talking to, I go back to a story, one of my first years of doing the front stretch. Roger Hayden was telling me that they had, and the number's probably off, but it's pretty darn close. I believe their first 8 races, they had 6 rainouts. And as successful of a track as you are, when you have 6 nights where you're banking on paying bills off of those nights, and the bills are still due, electrical's still due, property taxes are still due, your water bills are still due, that adds up real quickly.
It hurts. I mean, it just hurts, but I don't know, people, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of a question. I mean, what do you mean, what am I going to do? What can I do?
Yeah.
There ain't a whole lot you can do, and it does hurt. In some of the events we lost with some of our bigger races that, sometimes we make a little bit more money on some of the specials and different things that we do, and them nights help, you make a little money, and sometimes you have a slow night, it kind of helps offset them nights, So it was just kind of one of them hard years. And then I think about the people that work for us. They don't make a lot of money, but throughout the season, they a lot of people I know that work for us, they save that money and they'll go on a little vacation or they go do something with it. And all of a sudden, you take nine events out of it, and it adds up. It was just a tough year.
Well, you had a really good saying you posted on Dirt Drivers from Theodore Roosevelt: "Do what you can with what you have, where you are."
That's very true.
I think that kind of sums up your attitude. There was really nothing you can do about Mother Nature, so just kind of grin, bear, and 2015, she'll pay you back, and she'll say, sorry for all those rainouts in 2014. Let's have a great 2015.
Yeah, I mean, once, the year before, 13, we had a couple rainouts beginning of the year, and then once we got rolling, we never had a rainout the entire summer. I mean, it went all the way through with no rainouts, and it very well couldn't get into that situation. Like you mentioned earlier, the weather's been unbelievable right now. I was laughing with a friend of mine the other night. I said, man, we should go out Saturday afternoon and take the cars out and go out and make some laps. It's supposed to be dang near 60 degrees Saturday.
We're getting spoiled.
We're getting spoiled, but I got a feeling we're going to get hammered here.
Yeah. You kind of wonder what old Mo Nat's got in works for us for January and February.
You just don't know. But one thing I like is if we actually do get through this month, pretty decent weather right now. This kind of shortens up the winter. I hate that when it starts snowing and cold at the beginning of November and it just kind of sticks with you. It just makes it a really long, hard winter. So we can get through this month kind of decent. We'll shorten up the winter.
2015 looks like you're going to kick the night off with the South Dakota Spring Nationals featuring the Minnetonka Micro Sprints, stock cars, sport mods, hobby stocks, and sport compacts. That's going to be Friday, April 10th, and then again on Saturday, April 11th. What do you have planned for those nights outside of just those classes showing up?
Well, the first night, like I said, we're going to run the Micro Mini Sprints, and then the second night will be they'll go home, and then we'll bring in the A mods and what we do in Spring Nationals is kind of neat deal. Started last year. We're going to do a double down. So the hobby stocks, sport mods, sport compacts, and then we included the stock cars this year. They're racing. So they're racing for $500 to win the opening night, first night, and then we're going to the second night's $500. And if they go on to win both nights, we'll match $500. So they got a chance to pick it up $1,500 if they can win both nights. So it turned into a pretty neat deal. We had Carl Brewer. He did that in the sport mods last year in the Spring Nationals. He picked up both nights, picked up a bonus. So it just gives him something to shoot at. Kind of fun.
And looks like your weekly points payout is it remaining the same as 2014, or did you guys add a little bit to it, move it around any at all?
No, we're going to leave that the same as it was. But one thing we come up with this year is we're going to have a points fund, an additional points fund on top of what the IMCA points fund is, and we're just going to. We've had a number fee, registration fee, like all tracks. We've had this forever. And that people question, what do you do with that, whatever. So this year we're gonna take and we're gonna give them an option. It's $40, and it's a one-time deal, and it goes to the points fund. We're gonna have a points fund for all 5 divisions, and then if they choose not to do that, there no fees, no number fee or nothing. So, and it's nice to do that for new drivers. Drivers maybe it rained out another town, they want to come and race with us once or something. There's no number fees, no nothing. And then drivers do register. We're just going to take their they only have to be there 70%. So if they have a night they miss or they're broke or something, they ain't gonna kill them or something.
Yep.
So it's kind of a neat deal. Try to give them a little bit more money. At the end of the year, racing's expensive anymore, and just keeps adding up. And then the fuel travel back and forth and everything. So just something I've been thinking about it last year real hard, and I almost did it. And so this year over the winter, I put it together and pulled the trigger and. Something we're going to do.
No, I think that'll be something fun, just a little extra. Sometimes you just need that little icing on the cake to get a couple more drivers over your way and to ease some of the costs for your regular drivers.
Yeah, I know. I've raced myself since 1984, and I know the cost of it and what it costs. And it's like I said, it ain't getting no cheaper. And this is the way we're going to put a little points fund on top of so this way you get your IMCA points fund, and then this will be in addition to it, and just. A little bit extra always helps.
Kind of looking through your schedule a little bit. We already talked about the South Dakota Spring Nationals on, looks like April 10th and 11th. In May, you're going to pick up did I see the Gotcha Series? I'm having trouble seeing it now. Where am I?
What do I got? Here's...
Oh, nope, that's looks like June 21st. Sign Masters are going to present the IMCA Weekly Racing Father's Day feature with the Good Old Time Racing Association.
Yes, that's what I did have my schedule in here. We always run the Gotcha Series on Father's Day, and that's just something we've done for years, kind of tradition, and it just goes really good. We get a lot of people bring the parents out, and older folks like to come out and see that series, and it just really works out really good. They put a really good show on and just do a good job, and they're always friendly with the fans, and a lot of times they park the cars in front straightaway and get out and visit with people, and people go down and wander around straightaway, front straightaway, and look at the cars up close and talk to them, and they ask questions and answer questions. It's a neat series. I really like working with them.
Talk to me about the KPTH Fox 44 Mid-Season Championship on June 28th. Talk to me about that Mid-Season Championship. Is that just kind of a halfway point, and here's some awards and a little prize money for making it this far? Yeah.
It's just always kind of a tradition. We have a mid-season championship. We give them big, nice, fancy trophies, and we have the big fireworks show that night. And we always do a driver introduction at that cool. evening, and pull the drivers up, and they introduce each one of them, and they got their helmets off, stand by the car. So this way the fans can kind of interact and see, you've been looking at Greg Golden all year racing, but who is he? Now you can stand there with his helmet off, you can see who he is and what he looks like, and then, if you wander down the pits after the races, you know who you're looking for or whatever. So it's just it's a neat midway point, like you said, for the fans and drivers to kind of see what's going on and who's who. So.
Looks like you guys have picked up the Super Late Model Series again for August 1st. They're going to be joined by the Micro Sprints, Sport Mods, Hobby Stocks, and Sport Compacts for a race that Saturday.
Yeah, that's one of the nights we really look forward to, and that was unfortunately one of the nights we lost last year in the rainouts. So I was pretty disappointed. I used to race late models years ago, and I really enjoy that class and look forward to them coming each year. And that was one of the nights I was pretty bummed out. It rained out. So, I'm looking forward to seeing them back on the track.
What do you think? Have you seen this new plan that Joe Koziski just rolled out earlier this week of the chase format for the Super Late Model Series?
Yes, I've seen it and read it actually about an hour ago, and I got to read it a couple more times. I'm kind of a little confused.
He said that to me, too. I was talking about it. I said, can I talk about it? He says, I think maybe you better wait until I can come on the show because it's a little different. I said, okay, I'll wait for you.
Yeah, I read it honestly about an hour ago, and I was like, I think maybe I need to read that again, and it'd be neat. It's something different.
Yeah.
We're always looking for something a little bit different, so it... once you and once you get it all explained and everybody understands and everything, it should be a fun deal.
And that'll be next weekend. We'll talk with Joe Koziski about that. But in the meantime, we're talking with Greg Golden of Raceway Park. You can go to racewayparkinc.com for more information. You can also find more information on their Dirt Drivers page, which is basically where I'm getting all this interview questions from. Looks like
we try to keep the Dirt Drivers, and then we have a Facebook page too. You can go right from our website to the Facebook, and we keep all that stuff updated. And that's one of my things as a promoter. Being a racer for years, it was always I always complained, of like, why is it a secret? What are we doing? And I always complained, so I try to stay on top of everything and constantly keep the word out, what's going on, what's happening. And the Facebook's so nice to, we can update that, boom, instantly right from our phones at the racetrack. So if we have a rain out or, sometimes it's raining 20 miles out and it ain't even raining at the speedway. And people are like, are you really racing? So, go to Facebook, like us on the Facebook page, and we keep all that stuff updated all the time.
We had a night like that at Crawford County in 2014 earlier this year that the whole way I drove from Council Bluffs to Denison, it rained on me right until I got to just outside of Denison, and there hadn't been a drop at the track. And thankfully, there's social media, there's instant text messaging that we could get the word out, and the night was racing. But yeah, it was kind of one of those weird things where just as it reached the outskirts of Denison, it quit raining.
Yeah, it happens. And then we tried that. We had the same thing a couple times this year, but we had one night. I remember what you're talking about, and it wasn't raining the track, and somebody called and said it's, one of our main streets in Susan at Hamilton Boulevard. It's raining on Hamilton Boulevard. I said, okay, but it's not raining at the Speedway, and we are racing.
Yeah, we are racing.
It's raining. He just kept yelling at me, and I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. It's not raining at the Speedway, and we are racing. I mean, but it was hard to believe because it was really raining.
Yeah.
It was, Raceway Park's located about 10 miles north of Sioux City, Iowa.
Okay.
So, there in the city, everybody, it was raining, and everybody's like, oh, but, 10 miles north, it was, sun was out, it was nice.
A lot can happen in 10 miles.
Yes.
August 30th, you wrap up your weekly race series with the championship night, and then you wrap it all up with the South Dakota Fall Nationals on September 5th. Micro Sprints, Midwest Classic Stock Car Association, Stock Cars, Sport Mods, Hobby Socks, and Sport Compacts, all IMCA'd. So that'll be your schedule for 2015.
Yep. We're going to wrap it up on a Saturday night, like I said, on the 5th, and we're going to leave the A-Mods out. A lot of the guys want to go to Boone, and the A-Mods, that was the class last year. We had quite a few drivers want to head out early, and I could never figure it out. I was like, rotor, I'm like, doesn't even make sense. They don't even race till midweek. But I went over to Boone, and I was talking to a few of them, and it made a lot of sense after they explained. A lot of the guys with the big trucks and the big trailers, they have to bring them in first and kind of fill the pits in, and then they start bringing all the smaller, divisions and trailers and stuff in. So once they explained it to me and everything, so this year we kind of changed the schedule up to accommodate them, and I think it should work well, so looking forward to it.
Now, this Christmas special you posted, again, on Dirt Drivers, where you can pick up your season tickets for 2015, grandstand passes, just $175. Talk to me about what all that includes.
That's going to include every race on that schedule. Every race we got. If you got a grandstand pass, you just walk up. You don't have to go sit in line or stand in line, and you just walk right by the line, go up, and they'll punch it. It's a punch card. They'll just punch it and go on in. Every race is included. So it's about, $85 savings if you totaled all the tickets up. So, and
that's valid through December 23rd of this year, right up until Christmas. It'll be a great little special. Now, how do they take advantage of that special? Is there the website they can go to and get information? Is there somewhere they need to mail or call?
They can, if they read that information right there, there's an email. They can email us. They can call us at 712-258-3590. We have a car lot here in Sioux City that we run the office out of. They can stop by there, 1900 Floyd Boulevard. They can mail us to that address. All that information, there's about 5-6 different ways. They can message us on Facebook page. There's just different ways they want to handle that. So,
Greg Golden of Raceway Park, best of luck to you in 2015, Mr. Golden. I appreciate your time, and you have a great holiday season.
I wish everybody a great holiday season, and thank you for everything.
Have a good one. Thank you, sir.
You too.
Bye. So, again, that was Greg Golden of Raceway Park. RacewayParkinc.com. Find him on Facebook. You can also email Greg goldenracing at cable1.net for more information on that, or 712-560-7245. Again, the deadline for those Christmas specials for the 2015 race season, just $175 a deadline, December 23rd. So make sure you get a hold of them to take full advantage of that. And let's get back to Raceway Park and get them running at full speed. And Mother Nature, you've been warned. Let's not have another 2014. All right, we'll be back in turn number 2 to talk to Ron Sutton from Boone Speedway. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
This is Andrew from Koziski Auto Parts. Koziski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Koziski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Koziski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Koziski Auto Parts. Our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Koziski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
We're working the high line into turn 2 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting, online at joeskarting.com.
Heading into turn number 2 here on the front stretch, turn 2. Time to talk to Dawson County Raceway in Nebraska for their 2015 schedule, and joining us on the phone, the man pulling the strings behind the scenes at Dawson County Raceway, Alan Wissman. Alan, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great, thank you.
What do you have for us lined up in 2015? Looks like you've released a tentative schedule, so what can you talk about so far?
Yeah, we've had some additions to our schedule this year to try to make it a better season and more interesting for our fans. We're going to start out big, hopefully, as a tentative date with the Central Track Series, the Dirt Stock Cars, the Great Plains Stock Car Series. On May 3rd, our opening date. Then our next big race will be June 14th. We've been trying for a couple of years to get the Nebraska 360 sprints out, so they're going to make their first voyage out to Lexington, Nebraska for a fun night. And then on June 21st, the next weekend, we're going to have the SLMR late models come out. I think this will be our 4th or 5th year of having them, and they always put on a great show. And then we're going to do a big 2-day race that we've never hosted before in July 18th and 19th. It's going to be part of our fair race. We are going to host a 305 national show for 305 sprint cars.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to combine the Race Savers and the URSSS sprint cars from down in Kansas and Colorado. And then we're going to come back and finish up our season August 16th on championship night. And then August 9th, we will have our Jeremy Tromke Memorial Race that weekend. And, of course, every weekend we'll be running our IMCA classes with highway stock cars, Northern Sport Mods and Modifieds. And then on selected nights, we'll run the Grand National late models.
What changes are you looking at for 2015 that fans will notice from 2014?
Not too many changes as far as our classes goes. We're going to stick basically with our basic package of classes. As just the extra, couple extra races that we've never hosted before is what we're adding to our schedule.
Where can people get more information on Dawson County Raceway?
Well, they can go to our website at DawsonCountyRaceway.com. Or else we can go to Facebook page. We have a Facebook page there on Dawson County Raceway, and that's probably where you can keep up with the most current events.
Is there anywhere or anything else you have in the works that you don't necessarily have to talk about it today, but anything you guys may be adding to the schedule later, or is this a pretty solidified tentative schedule?
It's pretty solidified. We do have yet to set a date on. We're going to have a big money payout for our sport mods and modifieds.
Okay.
And that's yet to be determined for that. But we tried having our last night of races last year and we got rained out. So it'll pay like $1,500 to win for the modifieds and $1,000 to win for the sport mods. And then we'll probably have a big payout for our stock cars opening night with the Great Plains Stock Car Series.
Yeah, tracks getting rained out seemed to be a common theme last year, and that was pretty rough. What's the best way fans can follow you to find out if you guys, God forbid, maybe get rained out a night this year? What's the easiest way for fans to know? Is there a text messaging service or Facebook the best way?
Yeah, Facebook's probably our best way. We're working on another informational thing right now that I can't reveal yet this time because it's not 100% yet, but if we get that going, it's going to be exciting for race fans and for everybody. But Facebook's probably the best and most update process anyway.
Any changes to the weekly points payout, the purses that you're anticipating for the weekly racing, or is it going to be staying the same as 2014?
Yeah, weekly purse is going to be the same as last year, and points will be about the same. I'd say other than some of our special races that we held, they'll have bigger payouts for that.
And a couple of your champions from last year, looks like your modifieds was Colton Osborne. Mike Nichols in the stock cars won the championship. Jeremy Kinnicut, did I say that right?
Jamie Kinnicut from Sport Mods.
In your Sport Mods, and then Dylan Thompson in the hobby stocks. Les Siebert in the late model, so in the 51 car. Are you... I know it's always difficult to ask you opinion of this, but if you could pick one class there's going to be a repeat winner, who would you pick?
That would be hard to guess because I tell you the competition is so tough. And, it only takes one bad night, and everybody runs so hard every weekend. And it'd be hard not to say that a lot of these guys could repeat, but you got such good quality racers that come on our track. We've got 4 states that are represented usually every weekend, and it's kind of hard to pick one out. But I would put our group of guys against about 80 tracks across the Midwest and let them go at it. I'm
sitting here listening to you say that, and a lot of promoters are going to say that, and a lot of people are going to say that, but I'm going to back you up with some actual numbers here. Modifieds, 5-point difference between champion and second place, 7-point difference in the stock cars between champion and second place. There was a 12-point difference in the sport mods. There was a 15-point difference in the hobby stocks and a 6-point difference in the late models. So you're right. The competition is tight.
Yeah, it's just been kind of crazy, actually. But if I can do my job right and give them a good track on, and these guys, they'll run 3, 4, 5 white some nights out there, and it's just puts on a well of a show for the fans. And it's some of the best racing that I've ever seen anywhere, I guess. So I'm always going to be kind of sick up for my track, but I've been to a lot of tracks over the summer too. And our stock car race, our Great Plains stock car race last year is one of the best races I've seen in my life, actually. So it's the guys do an excellent job, and we're well represented. Like I said, you got Mike Nichols. He won the national championship this year in the stock car division in IMCA, and we got other drivers that are up there, the top 10 points in the nation and then region. So got good quality racers everywhere. And we got Tiffany Bittner that comes to races out of Norfolk. She comes up there. She's been a four-time lady national points winner for IMCA. So we've got a really quality bunch of drivers that come and compete every weekend.
Located in Lexington, Nebraska, just east of Kearney on I-80, online at DawsonCountyRaceway.com and also on Facebook at Dawson County Raceway. Alan Wissman, always do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk to us about your 2015 schedule.
Well, thanks a lot for calling and let us chat about it. And we sure invite everybody to come out and check out our track. And we got great fans and great support, so come out and check us out and great racing.
April 26th is your test and tune. May 3rd is your first IMCA sanctioned night. Alan, have a great season, and best of luck to you, sir.
All right, thank you.
So that was Alan Wissman, again, of Dawson County Raceway, DawsonCountyRaceway.com for more information. And you can find him on Facebook and on Dirt Drivers. So we'll be back in turn number 3. We're gonna continue the Legends of the Dirt series, talking in 2 parts to Kent Tucker. Make sure you join us for the next half hour as we will talk to Kent Tucker about his racing career. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Max I Walker has been providing great service to the Omaha area for nearly 100 years. With 23 convenient locations, it's easy to find a Max I Walker near you. From dry cleaning to laundry to uniform rentals, Max I Walker is here to make sure you look your best. Max I Walker has been a proud supporter of local dirt track racing since 1974. From Sunset Speedway to Adams County Speedway and legends of the dirt like Dave Chase, Glenn Roby, Ron Tilley, and so many more. Give Max I Walker a call today or head to maxiwalker.com. Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
Time to grab another tear-off and make your move. We're headed into Turn 3 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting.
Heading into turn number 3 here on the front stretch, brought to you by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, again online at joeskarting.com. We're rolling on with the Legends of the Dirt Series, presented by Kaziski Auto Parts, online at kaziski.com and located at 51st and I Street in Omaha. We're talking to a man who battled Bob Kaziski quite a bit throughout his career. We're talking with Kent Tucker of Aurora. Kent, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing just fine.
We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule and in the holiday season to have a little chit-chat with us and to talk about your career. Kent, I'm not real familiar with a lot of these legends, so I was hoping you could give me a little bit of a background about your career. What got you started in racing?
Well, I guess it's probably like I say, the need for speed. I enjoyed going fast, and so it looked like a good way to do it and not maybe get quite so much trouble.
Did that work out for you? Did you go fast and not get in quite so much trouble, or did the trouble part still happen?
No, it helped. It helped. It was just, as they started racing here in Aurora, and I'd seen some of them, so I thought, well, that looks like kind of fun. So I started out helping on one of the crews, and the year after that, then I started racing myself.
And that was at the Hamilton County Fairgrounds, am I right?
Yeah, that was in 1970 when I started.
What did you start, when you were crewing, what did you crew for? What team?
At that time, it was Van Wilmers. We called it the Grants Racing Team at that time. I helped just that one season. And so then I started racing with my cousin and I. The two of us got together, and he was starting to build a car, and I was too. And so we got together and just built on one, and he was the main mechanic on the car, and I helped, of course, and I was the one that drove it then.
And you said you started driving in about 71?
In 1970, my first year driving.
Okay. Over the next 30 years, you took two different stints. You had about a 10-year run, then you took about 5 years off and raced for about another 16 years. What was the reason for taking that 5 years off?
Well, I got married for one thing.
That'll do it.
And family. And so the finance was a little short, so I quit racing the big cars, and I was a flagman for 1 year at Mid-Continent, and then I went into go-kart racing for about 3 years after that. And then after that, I drove for Keith Olson for 2 years. It's been a long period of time of racing. And a pretty successful career. I don't know the exact number, but it sounds you got about 250 wins to your credit. Yeah, about that number. Yeah, we didn't start out really keeping track of. I didn't start out saying I'm going to win this many features. I just started out racing because I enjoyed it. So. Mm-hmm. What was your definition of a successful season? Did you want at the beginning of the season to say, if I want a track championship or I want a state championship, that it's successful? Or was there another marker that you were shooting for? I would say it was the main thing. I just, every time I went out, I drove to win, Mm-hmm. I didn't mean I won every night, but when I went out there, I was going to finish the race one way or the other, if at all possible, and do the best I could. Some drivers race for fun. Some drivers race because they want to be number one. Some of them race for both reasons. What camp do you land in? I'd say for both. Yeah. When I started racing, it was just for fun to begin with. Well, then it turned in, I was winning racing, and of course, that gives you a little more incentive to work a little harder. And so, I ain't going to say I had to win every time out, but that was my goal. Throughout your career, again, a 30-year span that goes from 1970 to 2001, what all did you race? Was it just a certain couple of type of cars, or did you kind of spread your wings and try different things? It was mainly late models. Of course, the first year we started out, those cars would probably be called hobby stocks now. But, I've always stayed in the full-body cars. I drove a modified a couple times for a guy, and that's about the only thing. Go-karts, that's the only things I've drove. If you could drive anything today, late model, hobby stock, maybe a sprint car, maybe it's a truck on dirt at Eldora, what would you sit down in to give it one more run? Well, I guess my bucket list, I'd like to drive a sprint car just once, just to get the feel of what it's like to have that kind of horsepower. If I was going to go back to racing again, I would probably be looking at maybe a mod, the A mods or something like that. Yeah. Under the place that I don't want to have to work every night on a race car and also have to finance it. So we'd all love to race if we don't have to finance it. Yeah, no kidding. That's the worst part of it.
Hey, Kent, if you could branch out a little bit, I know you just said you might want to try a sprint car. You ever thought about trying to drive a funny car or a top fuel car? No, I really didn't. Well, you talk about speed.
Yeah, I like the speed, but I like it to last more than 5 or 6 seconds.
Ah, that's what she said.
Oh, that might reach the cutting room floor. We're talking with Kent Tucker of Aurora. Kent, you're a part of the Legends of the Dirt series. Do you have a favorite kind of car that you drove over the years? Was it a late model, and is that the reason why you stuck with it for so long?
That was basically it. I just liked the late model. And for one reason, there were a lot more tracks around here. There was one year, probably in about the mid-'70s, that we did look into a sprint car. Lynn Miller and I was racing together, and we went to Lincoln and looked at a sprint car, but we kind of weighed the options. There's only a couple of tracks that were close that we'd be able to race at versus, there's all kinds of tracks that are late models at, so we stuck with the late model.
Well, I have a picture, Kent, of you. I think Larry Dannenauer probably gave it to me, of your late model running at Midwest Speedway with a wing on it. So you got partway there.
Well, yeah, we was partway there. It was a lot of fun, with the wing on there. You could just throw it in the corner as hard as you want, and it would stick and go. But it's a lot of my success went back to Larry Dannenauer. He started building motors for me the second year I raced for Lynn and I, and I wasn't a motor builder, but at that time he was a foreman at John Deere where I worked, and he offered to build motors for us. So best thing we ever done. He
built a lot of good ones, and like you, he's a member of the Nebraska Auto Racing Hall of Fame and a great guy.
Yes, he is. He's done a great job. Got a great reputation for motors that would last and had power.
Hey, Kent, John Walsh here. I'm from your area out there. I grew up around Hastings, and I remember you vividly, especially. And I always saw you're coming to prominence in racing about the time when racing itself, at least dirt track racing, was starting to make a change in those areas. We went from as you described it, the hobby stock types, where we used to have I remember Hastings Raceway in particular, the coupes and the sedans all on the same track together, the Lanny Haneys versus the Wayne Huntleys. And then I remember you coming in and dominating late model racing in that neck of the woods. You and Lynn Miller together were just a formidable team that nobody could seem to solve back then. If I could get you to talk a little bit about racing during that era, at least in the 70s, and then how it changed for you as it was crossing over into the 80s, if you would, please.
Well, like I say, when we went to Hastings, we won right off the bat. There again, it wasn't just me in the car. It took a combination of the motor, the driver, and having a good car. We didn't have high dollar stuff in our stuff, but we worked on it, and we always felt that a lot of times you win the race in the shop. We worked every night of the week on it, checked every bolt, and we were ready to go racing when the weekend came. And we went from, like you say, the hobby stock, and gradually went to a Camaro. Camaros then later on. And, of course, then we went to more of the open motor type stuff. The first number of years, we restricted on size and cubic inch and this sort of thing. But, as the years went by, there for a while, we didn't have a whole lot of restrictions, as far as motors and that kind of stuff. You just built and raced what you had. But, at that time, I was racing Friday nights at Hastings. We went to Kearney the first few years that they raced. And Aurora at that time was racing Sunday afternoons. And then in the mid-'70s, we started racing. We'd race down to Red Cloud, go to Denison, Iowa on Saturday night, come back and race Omaha on Sunday night. We did that for a couple of years in a row. And
what about short track racing as a sport back then? I remember it was standing room only on a Friday night in Hastings when if you didn't get there by 7 o'clock for an 8 o'clock start, you didn't get a seat. I mean, it was the media, the community, the car counts, everything was just it was just an amazing time, wasn't it?
There was lots of cars. They would have even Turner D and E's features. I mean, there was cars everywhere, and of course Hastings was only a quarter-mile track, and it was pretty tight, but it was a fun track to race on. And of course at that time Huntley and Haney was the ones most of the time running up front, and the only one I really couldn't consistently beat was Larry Stromer. He had a little black Ford Coupe there, number 40, and that thing, if I did beat him, it was my luck usually. But, you know.
How Dean Ward? Dean Ward was pretty good back then as well.
Yes, he was.
Yep.
Yeah. At that time, he was driving mainly the Sprint modified class, not so much in the late model tonight, because the mid 70s in there.
Right.
And he did move over to running in the late model class.
Right.
And Dean was always, he was right there. He was competitive.
Well, you guys seem to have just a chemistry, a formula. I remember your driving style was just absolutely smooth, watching you come from the back. And how much do you attribute that to your ability and that to your chassis, man? Because that car never, ever seemed – you made it look so easy. You were on a rail the whole time back then. Talk a little bit about your man there. Lynn Miller deserved a lot of credit, I imagine. He was –
Lynn Miller definitely gets a lot of credit there. You know, like I said, the car was ready. And there again, we had good motors in the car. And we always, we didn't usually break from something that we forgot to do in the shop. It would be something maybe during the race because, we'd go through that car, one end to the other, making sure that we had everything done and done right. And Larry took care of the motors for us, so we actually never touched the motors ourselves. He always tuned them up for us, and so it was a combination of, like all three, really. It wasn't just me. I had a car that I could drive pretty anywhere, and I had a motor that would give me the power to go there. So
was racing just
for a lot of fun? Was
it just for fun for you? Did you have any higher aspirations?
Well, one time I thought maybe moving on, but with the situation I was in, I started farming in the mid '70s and got married in the later '70s. Pretty soon to move on, something like that would mean picking up and moving somewhere else. And, I guess I just wasn't ready to do that. So I just stayed here and continued on.
You miss it?
A little bit. That's why I don't go to too many races.
Is it painful to go to races? You sit there in the stands and you're not in control behind the wheel. So is it kind of painful in a sense?
Well, sometimes, but I've gotten to the place, I've been there, done that. And, I resort to the fact that, I really don't have much to prove by going out there. I'm to the age that I'm supposed to be retired. So
we're talking.
It's fun to go.
We're talking with Kent Tucker of the Legends of the Dirt Series, brought to you by Kaziski Auto Parts. We're going to take a quick break, let Kent catch his breath, and we'll be back in turn number 4. This is the Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he is talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kaziski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kaziski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
Get ready for the victory lap as we make our way into Turn 4 on the Front Stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
Just about ready to wrap this baby up. Rolling into turn number 4, the Front Stretch rolls on, and so does the Legends of the Dirt Series, brought to you by Kaziski Auto Parts, online at kaziski.com. 51st in I Street in Omaha. Quality used parts at an affordable price. We talked about it early in the last break, kind of touched on it a little bit. Seems like you and Bob Kaziski over your years had quite a few battles, and you kind of seem to be a little bit of a thorn in his winning ways side. Can you talk about some of those times?
Oh, yeah, Bob was one of these probably the toughest ones I was running against. I ran against him down at mid it was at Sunset there to begin with, and then they had a bounty race up for him that one night where he'd won something like 5 or 6 features in a row, and of course every night the money went up, and so I was finally lucky enough to beat him finally the last night. Finally got that bounty, but then I run against him over Denison all the time. I went up to Alta one time for a special they had up there, and heat race. Him and I run first, he runs second. The Trophy Days, I run first, he runs second. The feature, I run first and second. So it just seemed like back in the early 70s, mid-70s, him and I were battling back and forth all the time, seems like.
Seems like when guys tend to battle like that, you know, a disagreement can tend to come up every once in a while. Did you guys have a disagreement at any time over a move or who had what position on track?
Well, the night that I won the bounty race there, I had a lot of people trying to help me out of the car afterwards.
And except they were doing it with the window net up.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was just one of the things that there was a little bump and rubbing, and some of the people didn't like that. But Bob was always a good competitor. I hold a lot of respect for the man even yet. You know, he was a good, clean driver. You didn't really have to worry about him being a dirty one. So the Koziski family has been great racers. You know, then they came out to Grand Island and run that the late model nationals, and he won that one night. So they brought him back the next week for a grudge race with me, and I ended up winning that time by just a nose. You know, he's always been a fierce competitor. You know, he was good.
Now, if we were to talk to Bob about maybe some fun times you guys might have had in the pits, is there a story you can remember?
Well, not right offhand. I know the night that I beat him out at Grand Island that there was a few unhappy people there. They didn't think that I'd won because it was so close that, you know, you couldn't have, you know, it was almost a photo finish, basically. But they thought they won, and Flagman said I'd won, and so there was a little bit of controversy going on there that night. But, you know, overall, we really haven't had, what you say, words between us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sure there's times he wasn't happy with me, and there was nights I wasn't happy with him. As far as really coming, you know, the blows or words against each other, we really never did.
I always get a kick out of talking to the Koziski boys because they were very superstitious. No chicken on Sundays, no green, no none of this. They wouldn't take any cash on race day because it was green. Were you a superstitious driver?
I wouldn't say I was. We just didn't like green. We just told nobody to wear green in the pits. That's about the only thing.
Did you ever play any tricks on drivers? You know, maybe you had some of your kind of favorite buddies you used to play tricks on when you guys were in the pits?
Oh, not really. You know, there was fun in the pits, you know, just, you know, enjoying each other. You know, but most of the time for us, we were busy working on the car.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were always getting prepared for the race, you know, and we didn't spend a lot of time conversing with anybody else. So,
Kent, you had some good success, won Nebraska Late Model Nationals twice. I know by 1979 or 80, that got to be a huge race, and I think some people don't remember the quality of drivers that were there for a couple, 3 years.
Well, there was a lot of good cars there. I mean, they were coming from, you know, Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, all over, and, you know, I won it back-to-back in 74 and 75. Up till just a few years ago, I was the only one two-time winner, you know. You know, back then, the competition was stiff, you know. Some of the things have changed, you know, for nowadays, you know. Back then, when we lined up for the features, weeklies anyhow, you wouldn't buy High Point start in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I just knew I was in the back row. You know? So, you know, nowadays, I mean, it depends on how your finishes are. I mean, you could be leading in points but still start in the front of the heat race. Well, I never had that luxury, it seemed like. I was always starting in the back and had to work my way to the front.
They were pretty consistent back then.
Yeah.
That made it exciting, though, from a fan standpoint. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Who did you emulate growing up in terms of, I don't know when you got the racing bug, but who did you look up to or who did you idolize?
You know, to be truthful, not really anybody, because until in the late 60s, I'd only gone to Hastings about once to watch the races on a weekly. That was probably in, say, 67 or 68. And then the Aurora, they started racing here, and then I started going out there. So, you know, I really didn't have anybody at that time that I knew that well. You know, I just decided, you know, I wanted to race, you know. I went out and tried it and enjoyed it.
And, of course, they didn't have the TV exposure that they've got now, so you didn't have a bunch of that to watch. You know,
no.
But like we said before, the crowds were a lot bigger. I mean, that was a big thing in a town of Hastings or Corning, Iowa, or Denison.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sunset Speedway.
Too many other things to do nowadays.
That's the thing nowadays. There's so many options for people to do nowadays, and it's expensive. You want to take a family to the races, you know, it gets to be expensive night out. So, you know, some people have to pick, you know, one night or the other to take the family out. Where it used to be, you go 3 nights a week.
Ken, I'm always kind of amazed when I'm talking to you guys for this Legends of the Dirt series that it's really no better way to put it, that a lot more of you survived than you should have. I mean, for a long time, you guys were racing with lap belts and glass, and was there a moment during your racing career that you can look back on and go, boy, I was lucky to walk away from that?
Well, yes. I can remember the first few years I started, I had a nylon jacket. That was my racing uniform and white pants. And I had a helmet, open face helmet with what they call the clod shield. And I can remember numerous times getting the face of the clod about going to knock your jaw off.
Oh man!
But then later on, I think it's probably 2 years into it, I finally bought my first fire suit, and of course it was just a single layer at the time, but yet it was better than what I had been running. But I've seen guys before where it was an incident down that Red Cloud, one of those specials where one of the guys caught on fire, and he was wearing a nylon jacket, and he had some severe burns when he survived, but he was burnt pretty bad because, he didn't have a fire suit on.
Wow.
I remember some guys in T-shirts, just shorts, shirt sleeves, just it's crazy.
Yep. I mean, you look back on it, like you say, it's a wonder that more people weren't killed or hurt because we never, had the safety stuff that they do now.
Hey, Kent. On the mechanical side of things, you went through the time and you were racing through the era when the wedge cars came through and the big monstrous sail panels made out of Lexan, and I talked to other drivers, and they just tell you can't spin the car out with that thing on there. You drive it as hard as you want and turn left,
That's just about right.
Did you test and tune on that stuff, or did you look at it and think that'll work, so you did it, or how'd you work that out?
Well, you just kind of sit back and look, okay, we make it this high, this long, and go out and run and see what happened, I drove 2 years for Keith Olson out of Exeter, and the first year I drove for him down there at Beatrice, he had a wedge car, the big wing on the, high thing, and, the cars weren't pretty, so to speak, but you had, a lot of downforce because of all the wedge type, the aerodynamics of them.
Yeah, the sheet of plastic's 4x8, so that's how big my wing is.
We're higher than that.
They didn't look like race cars, really, when you got all said and done, it seemed like. But
they embarrassed Indy cars.
Yeah. The wing on top of the car, back when we run that, was probably about as effective as those were, though. That wing would just make that car stick in the corner and go.
I personally always liked watching topless late models where you could see the driver watching him do his work. I always enjoyed those.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yep. I never really raced in that class. They were kind of that period where I dropped out, and then I got back in. I was just running the weekly shows here, which nobody around here was really running the topless type cars. So.
We're talking with Kent Tucker as a part of the Legends of the Dirt series. Kent, a lot of these drivers that we talk to have got nicknames. Some of them don't. Did you pick up any nicknames throughout your career?
Well, early on we was known as the Blue Streaker. We had that on our car. And
was that because you were streaking one night while you were cold?
It turned blue?
Well, no. It was that blue streak that went by everybody.
Oh, okay.
I remember when you were dominating. Did you ever experience typically in racing, if somebody wins too much, boy, the crowd will just start to turn on them, Did that ever happen to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would hear.
That's a good thing.
There was more boos than yays, but I figured the more boos you heard, the better you were doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Was it more the days you beat Bob Kaziski, or?
Well, it was that time period, yes. Yeah. That was the time period there, even at Midwest there. I've got the record, I think, for most feature wins. I think I had 10 feature wins out of 18 in one season. And, it's like everybody else. After you win so much, they want to see somebody else win.
We talked about the Kaziskis. Could you throw out some other names out there of guys that you really respected or really maybe gave you some fits every once in a while?
Well, there was Dave Chase, Billy Martin. Of course, that time I was running. Later on, Kyle Burke came in, Al Humphrey. Dean Ward was running against him.
How about your buddy Clayton Peterson?
Clayton Peterson.
Yep.
There was a lot of guys that was stiff competition.
Well, Kent, we appreciate your time. I think we've taken up quite a bit of it. We always do appreciate you taking the time out of your night to talk to us. And have a great holiday season, okay?
Well, you too.
Thank you.
Man. Great talking to you, man.
Thanks,
Great
Kent.
talking to you guys.
Some of the voices you heard during that interview, Dirk Houston joining us. Dirk, we appreciate your time filling in for Buddy while he was taking care of some stuff down at Joe's Karting. And John Walsh, weatherman for Action 3 News. You were talking a lot. You're from that area, so you got to experience Kent firsthand. I'm really glad you walked in the studio and helped us out with this interview.
Me too.
You did a great job. What's your favorite memory of watching Kent? Is there one of them you can come down and watch, or you can talk about?
You know, sadly enough, I probably was one of the boo birds because, I mean, like I said, I don't remember Kent when he probably first started in the early 70s, but toward the end of the era, especially around Hastings, and that Hastings sort of faded away, and then Mid-Continent sort of took on to prominence then at that point. And I think even Dawson County Speedway started to fade away at that time too. But you know, I respected the guy. I mean, he was just smooth as silk. And coming up from the back, I mean, sometimes it was effortless. And I don't ever remember him being in an accident or anything like that. He was just incredibly good. And but you know, Friday, Saturday nights rolled around, you knew it was Kent Tucker and all the rest, you know. But he was just an amazing and as he said too, it wasn't just him. I think just his engine guy, his chassis guy, they were just a great collaboration, I think, that was just unbeatable at that time.
Well, Kent is fourth in our 10 drivers we're going to be interviewing this year for the Legends of the Dirt Series. If you happen to miss it over the last couple of weeks, we kicked it off with Charlie Schwartz. We moved on to Steve Francis, then John Gerloff. Obviously, today was Kent Tucker. Still to come, Kurt Hansen, Roger Rager, Ray Gus Jr., C.J. Rayburn, Mark Noble, and Willie Kraft. Then we'll play the Playland Speedway show. If you happen to miss any of them, you can head over to the Joe's Karting YouTube page and catch them all, because Joe's Karting does a great job posting all of our shows on the YouTube page. And thank you so much to Kaziski Auto Parts for bringing us the Legends of the Dirt Series, now the third year. And Lee, big thank you to you. Lee always writes up these great articles for me to get some information, at least sound like I know what I'm talking about. So I could do the old fake it until I make it. So I'm going to be faking it for several years until I could start to kind of hold my own. Lee helps me out a lot with that.
Well, you better pick it up, because my memory's fading fast.
Oh, people have been telling me to pick it up for years. I still trudge right along. We'll be back next weekend. We're going to be joined by Kurt Hansen as a part of the Legends of the Dirt Series, brought to you by Kaziski Auto Parts. We appreciate your time today and joining us. Hope you enjoy your beautiful Sunday. Enjoy the holiday season. We'll be back again next weekend to do it again. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Max I. Walker has been providing great service to the Omaha area for nearly 100 years. With 23 convenient locations, it's easy to find a Max I. Walker near you. From dry cleaning to laundry to uniform rentals, Max I. Walker is here to make sure you look your best. Max I. Walker has been a proud supporter of local dirt track racing since 1974. From Sunset Speedway to Adams County Speedway and legends of the dirt like Dave Chase, Glenn Roby, Ron Tilley, and so many more. Give Max I. Walker a call today or head to maxiwalker.com. Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.